Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And Australia have won the T20 World Cup, so many congratulations to them. And honestly, if you asked me who I thought was most likely to win this tournament, I would have put Australia in third place. Now, purely because of the individuals that they have in their squad, I think they have this core group of players who have been around for quite some time now. And yeah, I feel like when they fire, they can be anyone. And so I think that being said, I've said this before, that I actually thought that this was the most underprepared I've seen an Australian squad arrive for an ICC tournament. Because you look at the fact that as a first team, so for example, this squad or this 11 that started in this game, they haven't really played international T20 cricket together, like for quite some time now. And also the fact that even amongst these core group of players, you look at the likes of David Warner, who I don't think he had that bad of an IPO as people were saying he had. But I'm saying that it's kind of the fact that even more than his form slump, let's say, which I don't really think was that bad, I thought that it was more of the fact that he was short of cricket would play a bigger part. And I just think that if you don't play cricket that often, and when you do, you're not getting scores that you like, I thought that it would those two as a combination wouldn't go too well. But I didn't think he would fail in this tournament. I just was intrigued to see how he would do. And I'm not actually surprised that he's done very well. And even more than David Warner, I actually thought Aaron Finch for me was the one who, look, his form has been a bit patchy. And even in this tournament, I mean, he played some good innings. Even though he didn't score 50, he played some good innings. But the thing is he didn't quite look at his fluent best apart from maybe the Sri Lanka one. He didn't quite look at his fluent best in any of them. And I don't actually think that there wasn't one innings which you could say that after seeing this, you're sure he'll play well in or kind of be his fluent best in the next one. And I don't think, look, he didn't have a bad tournament, but I'm saying that, look, he captained the team well and he did play some good innings. And yeah, so yeah, I think he can get a pass of this tournament. But then you have someone like Stephen Smith, who, look, before I go into this, I think this whole people have said Steve Smith has never really got T20 cricket. I think that's just a myth, because he's played many good T20 innings. He probably doesn't have a great international T20 record, but he's played well for Rajasthan Royals, and he played for Rising Pune Supergiant, where in the 2017 season he almost led them to a title when he scored about 500 runs in that season, leading the team. And as I said, he has played many good T20 innings. So honestly, this whole thing of Steve Smith not getting T20 for me, I just think that's ridiculous. And also, there's this thing where the reason why there was something where they thought it wasn't ideal, which I could kind of understand the second point, but I'll say why it's not necessarily the case. Because I thought that, like people said that him and Ajinkya Rahane in the same team in Rajasthan Royals was a bit too slow, and I get that. But the thing is, they said that if it's only one of them and the other players score quicker, then it's good. And the thing is, that's how it is in this Australian setup. You have Steve Smith and everyone else is a power hitter around him. So I think this is probably the best scenario for him to play. And having said that, though, I think that he is in a bit of a limbo in his T20 career, because even you saw some dismissals in this tournament, it wasn't necessarily great. And I'm not saying he's out of form, but I'm saying that he doesn't quite seem comfortable. Then you have Marcus Stoinis just getting back from injury. And then the pace trio. You have Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood. Now, Australia like to play these three across formats. And if you look at the player or the bowler out of the trio who's probably the best one, or as of now at least, is probably Josh Hazlewood coming into the tournament. And during the tournament, it's been Josh Hazlewood out of the pace trio. And the thing is, he's bowled very well since the second leg of the IPL. And more than him, I actually had a question mark on the other two as a collective. You have Pat Cummins, who he got picked for 14.5 crores in the IPL 2020 auction. And he didn't have a great season, and then he came back with 2021, and he actually did better with a bat than with a ball, but that's not why you buy Pat Cummins. And yeah, then he didn't play the second leg, and I just thought it became, and it's actually a blessing in disguise that he didn't play the second leg for KKR, because Lockie Ferguson, who I thought should have started ahead of Pat Cummins, or at least like I only thought Pat Cummins could have started with Lockie Ferguson, not ahead of him, despite the price tag. And it kind of showed where Pat Cummins still isn't necessarily suited to T20 cricket. And even then, I think he's, and I've said this before, I think that he's a fairly, or I thought he's fairly one-dimensional kind of bowler, especially, and I still do think that despite the fact that the last 2 games he's bowled well, I think that in T20 cricket, he's much better off bowling 3 overs in the power play and then bowling 1 over before the death overs. So I thought because of the one-dimensional nature of Pat Cummins, that was a factor, bowling alongside a Mitchell Starc who's not bowling at his best right now. I thought those two as a collective may not be that great of a combination at this point of time. And also, you look at Josh Hazlewood, despite the fact that he's been bowling well recently, he's still learning in T20 cricket. So if your best bowler is someone who's actually reinvented himself, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but he's still learning in T20 cricket. Even so in the game against Pakistan, okay, that and maybe the game against England were kind of the only 2 bad games he had in the tournament, but I'm still saying that, yeah, it's the fact that he's still learning. So the thing is, you have, as a trio, I thought, how would they go? Despite the fact you have Adam Zampa, who's an excellent bowler, and I thought was the best leg spinner in this tournament. And yeah, despite all that, Australia have, as I said, the core group of players, so when they fire, they can be anyone. And the thing is, it's been especially in modern day Australia, when in the modern day Australian cricket, where it's kind of like outside of the first team, the problem they have is there's no one, especially in Test cricket, if the pace trio, if any one of the pace trio gets injured, can the bowlers who come in are they on the level of those 3? Probably not. But I think if the first team is fully fit, if they can put their best 11 out there, I think that this Australian team with the players they have, they're always a threat. Which is the reason why, despite the things I said before, I put them as 3rd favourites for the T20 World Cup, because, yeah, they have a very skilled team. And, yeah, I'm coming to the final. I don't want to go on about this too much, but I thought that Australia winning the toss and bowling first put them in an advantage, considering they're playing in Dubai at night, and we've seen that even in this game, pretty much the whole tournament has ended with no team successfully defending a score in Dubai at night. And the thing about this is, now here's the thing. So obviously, the trend has still remained, but I think it's been a slightly different dynamic, especially with the second semi-final and the final, because you could say that the second semi-final and the final, there's been 170 scores chased down, and also you could say the fact that, look, what I'm saying is the fact is there's been, you saw in the first in the group stages, for example, the games in Dubai were usually kind of max 150, and then that would be chased down, and there'd be much more lower scoring affairs because the team batting first would struggle to post higher totals. And I think the thing that I'm trying to say here is that I actually thought that New Zealand would have had the best chance bowling first, and if they had bowled first, I thought they would have done much better, because the reason why these 2 games have actually been higher scoring games is because Australia haven't actually, especially against Pakistan, they did not really, especially in the last 10. And in both these games, in the last 10 overs, Australia have lost the plot, especially against Pakistan. They had them, I think, 75 for 1 in 11 overs, and they lost the plot. What I'm trying to say is, you look at against India, for example, Pakistan and New Zealand, generally 95% of the time, did not give them a chance to score. Okay, India did a good job getting to 151 against Pakistan, but against New Zealand, Trent Boult set the tone. The first over went for 1 run, and especially in India, that's lost to Pakistan, the same situation in the previous game, and a must-win game here, and the toss not going their way again. Then you'd kind of think, look, yeah, I'm not talking about India here, but they were kind of under pressure. And the thing is, the fact is, New Zealand did not give them a chance at all. I actually think that it was the best bowling performance still of this entire tournament. They didn't give India a chance, and that India got to 110 for 7. And what I'm trying to say is, when you bowl first in these conditions, you've seen that you have the advantage, and so if you bowl like how Pakistan and New Zealand did, you see that you have the potential to not give the opposition a chance at all and really like reinstate that advantage. Whereas Australia, even though they had the advantage, okay, they bowled well for the first 10 in this. And in fact, I thought especially in the Pakistan game was the most disappointing because I actually thought that they bowled some of the high no balls because of dew, and I still thought there was dew in the first innings, but Aaron Finch actually said that there wasn't dew at all, and even in this game there wasn't dew, but he said that it still does get easier to bat in the second innings. And you've seen that because even though 176 and 172, and what I'm trying to say is, despite the fact that Australia bowled that badly, especially against Pakistan, they're going in at the halftime or kind of at the innings break thinking we've still kind of got the game in our hand. 177 being the target with the batting conditions being easier in the second innings. Yes, they lost 5 wickets, I think, before 100, but then Matthew Wade, Marcus Stoinis won the game. And I think in that game, actually, despite the fact that Australia won, Pakistan, you could say, I think, 55 to 45%. I think Pakistan, 55% was the better team because they bowled better than Australia did, and they got the 170 odd that Australia had to chase down. But I'm saying that even then you see that it just shows how hard it is to get an advantage batting first in the Dubai night game in this tournament, because you think you couldn't really do much better than to get 170 odd, but it kind of seems the best case scenario. And yet the opposition, because the bowling, especially today, New Zealand did not bowl well, barring Trent Boult, no one bowled well, but I'm saying that it's been easier for the team batting second to get on with things straight away. Whereas in the first innings team, you saw in the first 10 overs of both the Pakistan game and the New Zealand game today, the team batting first has had to take it slowly. So I think that's a thing where I talked about when India lost to New Zealand. I talked about the fact that it'd be interesting to see how the teams overcome this catch-22 situation. And what I'm trying to say is, it's been a bit easier for them, and I'm not saying that they haven't deserved this, because again, if the opposition bowls badly, then it's not, you have every right to capitalize on it. And the thing is, especially in the last 10 overs, Australia have lost the plot, especially in the Pakistan game, and the 170 odd totals could be achieved, but the problem was that even that wasn't enough. And coming to the game, I actually thought, because of this, New Zealand, if they had bowled first, I actually thought that they've been, for me, they are the most harmonious bowling attack in this tournament. And I think that with the control, especially they exhibited against India, I thought that New Zealand would not have let Australia get to 172 in the first innings that they bowled first. They would have made much more use of the conditions. But they were put into bat first. Australia were 57 for 1 after 10 overs. And they got to 172 for 4, courtesy of, honestly, the best innings of this tournament by Kane Williamson. And I look at Mitchell Starc's, I think he's 9 for 59, I think, in 4 overs, and you think he's had a bad day, which he has. But that third over where he went for 22. Now, the second over he bowled was terrible. The first over was pretty poor. He went for 8 runs. But the second over he bowled actually turned the game. Okay, Hazelwood should have caught the catch. I mean, I know there's this whole thing of the lights in the Ring of Fire ground in Dubai. But the balls bowled in that over weren't very good. I think it went for 19, and including a no ball as well, for over the waist. And so in that, Stark bowled badly. Now, he's gone for 59, but he gave 22 runs in his third over, and I honestly can't say that he bowled that badly in that, because Kane Williamson just showed his class. He got set by then, And yeah, he just toyed with Mitchell Stark in that over. And this inning was actually, especially what you see against the odds when you're 57 for 1 after 10 overs in a final against a good attack. Yes, an attack that I think that you look at. I think the thing that I said, my kind of concerns about the fast bowling trio, I think it kind of showed in this, where you saw even in conditions where you thought they had the advantage, they're not necessarily. Maybe Stark is a T20 bowler, but not the other two by nature. So I think that it definitely did show. But even then, what was I going to say? It's the fact. Sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, it's the fact is that Kane Williamson played such an impactful innings, the best one of this tournament by far. And despite the fact that pretty much no one else really did anything apart from a few boundaries here and there, they got to 172 for 4. Now, there were two things which I thought going into the innings break. I thought if New Zealand get early wickets with the bowling attack they have, I thought they'll give a very good fist of it, and I actually thought they'll give a better fist of it than Pakistan, despite the fact that Pakistan did very well. And I was a bit disappointed with the bowling effort. I think that okay, you could say the conditions did ease out, but apart from Trent Boult, no one else really did anything. And I think that Australia, they played it quite well because they were 43 for 1, I think, in 6 overs. And I think there was always going to be and the team, sorry, the bowlers who, especially Ish Sodhi, he got hit around a bit. And Mitchell Santner, at one point, only gave, I think, 3 overs, he gave 23 runs at one point. So, despite the fact that he got hit, I actually think that with his figures, he didn't really do that badly. But I'm saying that I think that as long as David Warner was at the crease, Aaron Finch got out when it was 15 for 1 off Trent Boult, and it was Mitchell Marsh and David Warner batting in the crease. Now you have someone who isn't great against spin, and you have someone like David Warner who this tournament has been excellent against spin. So I think that New Zealand only have the bowlers that turn it into the left-hander in the spinners, in Ish Sodhi and Mitch Santner. So they were trying to delay them from being brought on, but in the end, Kane Williamson had to bowl them, and they got punished. And Warner scored an excellent 53, but the star of the show was Mitchell Marsh. I think he scored something like 60-odd. And he remained unbeaten at the end. And he played excellently. And the thing about this innings was that despite the fact that his weakness against spin, he played well against. Okay, they probably didn't bowl the best to him, but I just think that this innings, full credit has to go to Mitchell Marsh. He muscled the paces, really set the tone of Adam Milne at 14 runs off his first 3 balls. And I think that Australia thoroughly deserves to win this game. I think that in both this game and the Pakistan game, I think that what Australia have managed, despite the fact that you have this game, one bowler gets hit for 59 runs and yet 172 for 4, and in conditions where, luckily for you, it gets better in the second inning. So I think that Australia, despite the fact that in the last 10 overs in both games, they kind of lost it, I think that they kept it in check to deliver some vital overs, especially against Pakistan, with Pat Cummins only giving 3 runs off his last over. I think that they kind of kept it to a manageable score where you thought, still Australia are favourites to win the game. And especially against Pakistan, despite the fact that it took some brilliance at the end, you still kind of thought Australia would do it. And they won both these games, and they're deserved winners of this competition. And for New Zealand, look, they've been excellent in this tournament. I think that honestly, that winning against England was very good, especially with Kane Williamson and Martin Guptill being dismissed very early on in the piece. And as I said, right, I think that if New Zealand had bowled first, I don't think Australia would have got 172. I think New Zealand's attack still, I think they have more control than this Australian attack. But it is what it is. And it's been quite a weird T20 World Cup in a way. I think there is an argument to be said that especially in Dubai, and especially, you could say now in the crunch games, where that no one has actually managed to chase or to defend a score in Dubai at night. And even now, you saw before where it was much more low scoring games, and now it's even in the highest scoring games. And it's a thing where I talked about catch 22, but even when you have an opportunity and you think you've done enough, in the end, there's a case where could you have got a bit more? And then, but in this case, even if they'd got a bit more, would it have really made much of a difference? I don't think so. And so, yeah, I just think that despite you saw in the IPL, some results went the defending side's way. You saw when RCB scored 165 for 3 and Mumbai Indians got bowled out for, not for 3, but Mumbai Indians got bowled out for 111. So you saw games like that where, and even in the final when CSK 192 for 3, KKR got bowled out as well. Or I think not bowled out, but whatever, they lost by quite a big margin. And yeah, you've seen that it has been defended before, but I think that especially in this tournament, it was something that we actually didn't quite see in the IPL. It didn't seem impossible to defend when you bowl second on. So sorry, yeah, when you bowl second on this ground at night, and I don't think it is, because I do think that New Zealand today, their bowling was terrible apart from Trent Boult. Pakistan got the closest, and I think that honestly they were the better team on the day. But yeah, I just think that Australia won the game in the end, and because of the brilliance that Matthew Wade and Marcus Stoinis showed to win the game, I think Australia still deserved to win that game in the end. And yeah, Australia deserved winners of this tournament. So yeah, I think Australia thoroughly deserved to win this tournament. Considering all the things you thought before the tournament, with the first team hasn't played T20 international cricket together in a long while, and also some question marks around some of the core players, and despite that they've managed to pull through and win the tournament. So yeah, congratulations to them. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and please share this video with your friends, and remember, this is my opinion, what's yours?